All right, today we're stepping right into a classroom on exam day. You can just feel the tension in the air. The teacher is someone everyone is terrified of, and a lesson is about to be taught that, well, nobody saw coming.
So picture this. It's the morning of a massive science exam, and the anxiety's just off the charts. Students are frantically quizzing each other, totally convinced they've forgotten everything. For them, this isn't just a test. It honestly feels like a battle for survival. As everyone starts gathering in the exam hall, that nervous chatter is everywhere. You could cut the tension with a knife. And they're not just worried about balancing chemical equations. There's this other fear hanging over them, one that's way more unpredictable than any exam question.
Yep, it all came down to the invigilator, the teacher who would be watching over them for the next few hours. See, in this school, the person at the front of the room could literally make the difference between a stressful exam and a truly terrifying one. And everybody was just praying for a little bit of luck.
There were two names that absolutely no one wanted to hear. Two teachers whose reputations for being strict were legendary, Miss Rizwana and Miss Fazia. Honestly, the students would have taken anyone, literally anyone else.
The students' fear was so intense that they had these secret, really shocking nicknames for these teachers. In their whispers, one was called the Butcher, and the other, well, Hitler. Now that's an incredibly extreme and inappropriate comparison for sure, but it just goes to show you how much terror these teachers inspired in that classroom. And then, the moment of truth. The sound of footsteps echoing in the quiet hallway. One student gets brave enough to peek out the door, as the entire room just holds its breath, waiting for the verdict. The whisper ripples through the room like a shockwave. It's Hitler. And just like that, their worst fears are confirmed. The invigilator is Miss Fazia. You can almost feel the collective groan as every single student's stomach just drops to the floor. So Miss Fazia walks in, and her first words are completely unexpected. She just says, "Best of luck." But the students, they're so trapped by her reputation, they barely even register the kindness. In their minds, the dictator has arrived. Right away, she lays down the law. The rules are rigid, absolute. All your stuff outside. Only a pen and board on your desk. Get caught cheating, your paper is canceled, and you're suspended for 3 months. Don't even think about turning your head. Yep, this was exactly the authoritarian display they were all expecting.
As students are scrambling to follow her orders, the whispers start up again. Someone mutters that she has, like, superhuman hearing, that she can practically listen to your thoughts. Her reputation isn't just about being strict, it's about being almost omniscient.
The papers get handed out, and this deafening silence falls over the room. The only sound is the scratching of pens. But then, something starts to shift. As Miss Fazia walks up and down the aisles, she quietly praises students who are working hard, just a simple good or very good. And with each one of those unexpected words, a student looks up, surprised, and cracks a tiny little smile.
So most students finish with time to spare, but now they're stuck in this super awkward silence, unable to talk or leave. And yet, those small words of praise have subtly changed the atmosphere. The fear has eased just enough for someone to feel brave.
A student raises her hand and asks the question that is on absolutely everyone's mind. "Miss, why are we all so afraid of you?" The raw honesty of it just hangs there in the air.
And Miss Fazia, she doesn't get angry. She actually smiles. And then she explains that her students have completely misunderstood everything. The issue, she says, isn't her strictness. It's a modern problem, a fading tradition of showing respect to your elders, whether they're your parents or your teachers.
She introduces them to this concept called adab, and it's a word that means so much more than just respect. It's this deep traditional code of conduct, morality, and etiquette that's all about how you carry yourself in the world, especially around the people who are there to guide you. She shares a proverb with them. Ba-adab, ba-nasib. Bi-adab, bi-nasib. Basically what it means is, those who show respect are blessed with good fortune, while the disrespectful are destined for misfortune. It's this fundamental belief that your character really does shape your destiny.
And then, she drops a bombshell. Totally calmly, she tells the class that the teachers know. They know all the nicknames the students use behind their backs. The room just goes silent as this wave of shame washes over them. I mean, they had just been calling her Hitler, and it turns out their secret was never a secret at all.
She then lays out what she sees as the foundations of a successful life. First, respect your parents. They are your gateway to paradise. Second, respect your teachers, because they're the ones passing down a sacred legacy of knowledge. And finally, she stresses that true success can't come from a flop drama, just pretending to be obedient out of fear. It has to be genuine.
The transformation in that room is just profound. The students, they're not afraid anymore. They're humbled. They hang on to every single word, not because they have to, but because for the very first time, they are truly seeing their teacher, not as a dictator, but as a guide.
So Ms. Fauzia asked them for a promise. Not for her, but for themselves. A promise to practice adab, to respect their parents and their teachers. And one by one, every single student in that room raises their hand. It was this silent collective agreement. That day, the students left the exam hall with more than just a completed science paper. They left with a lesson that would probably last a lifetime. Which kind of leaves us with a final thought. We all have teachers who shape us, for better or for worse. So it makes you wonder, who was the one that changed your world?